Hey everyone, Vin Ebenau here at Jackson Liberty High School with head coach Jim Sharples. Coming off a 3-win season, but a season where you had guys like Nick Johnson, Jaquel Spears, Joe Crouchman kind of be some big guys for you. Now that those guys have graduated, who are the guys that you're looking to fill those big shoes or fill those holes?
Well, a lot of the guys that played last year with those boys that you mentioned are back. They played as sophomores, so Jimmy Santana, Jake Bosco, Garrett Blasi, those are sophomore kids that got a lot of time on the field. So they're coming back as juniors with experience, and that's a good thing. And there are the kids that kind of sat back and watched the Nick Johnsons and Joe Crouchmans, and they're ready to go. I mean, they prepared themselves in the off season. They're ready to go. So we're looking forward to it.
You played a team like Jackson Memorial tough, I know, to begin the season, and there were a couple other close matchups as well. What are some of the things you could do to kind of build off of certainly those wins, but maybe some of those small victories and the losses on the field to kind of turn around this year?
Yeah, I think our defense was much improved last year. With Jeff running this new defense, and I think that's only going to get better. The kids already know so much more than they did last year at this time. So that's one thing. I think they, we're playing Jackson Memorial Week 1 like we did, and them seeing the success they had, it kind of carried the defense through the year. I mean, we didn't score in that game, so that's why we fell short. But we hadn't held them like that for about 5-6 years. So it's just confidence. These kids, when they have success, they build off it and it grows. And defensively last year, that was a good thing. We got better each time, and we won 2 of our last 3 games. So that's another thing to build off of that. Just success coming off the field with a win. Something they could look forward to this year.
I know last year you and I talked a little bit about how important it was, how you wanted to keep things simple for the kids. That was like the best way to learn for them. Is that the same philosophy heading into 2018 as well?
Yeah. Every year I think we make it more simple. I don't know if it's a sign of the times or kids going home and studying playbooks is probably a thing of the past. And to keep things simple, keep them running around, something we always strive to do. We always try to make it easier for them. We do it in the classroom as well. I mean, we just try to, always trying to figure out better ways for them to learn, and sometimes less is more.
Going along those lines, with Jeff Schmidt putting in that defense last year, I believe it was a 4-3. Are you going to keep that and the pistol on offense, or is?
Well, yeah, we are keeping what Jeff's been doing. Like I said, the kids are more familiar this year in it, and they're getting a lot more. They're getting a lot more reps in it without talking so much about it and just doing more. Offense, we've simplified things or just changed our look offensively. We're going under center a lot more. We're huddling a little more, more tight end, more fullback, more traditional pro style offense, and less a spread offense. So the offense will have a new look for sure.
Now, going back to some of the guys you lost, who are some of the guys that have stepped up so far in training camp, or the guys that you're looking to carry you through the season, both in the running game and certainly on the offense and defensive line, where there's a couple of guys now graduated?
Right. So I mentioned Jimmy Santana, who was a sophomore last year. He started both ways. He's one of our better players, and he's returning. Obviously, he's going to get the brunt of the workload in the backfield. I mentioned Jake Bosco, who had played slot receiver for us last year. He's back, and he's in his second year of varsity. Up front, Andrew Galloway is a senior who pretty much was behind Nick last year, learned a lot behind him at tight end, and also on defensive end. He's prepared himself and stepped up. Aiden Aalverson is another senior lineman who came back from a shaky junior year. He actually started as a sophomore, and junior year he had banged up a lot, so he's looking forward to his senior year. obviously Evan Catron is our starting quarterback. He's also a sophomore starter last year, who's now returning as a junior. Things are a lot smoother for him. Joe Devito is a wideout DB who gives us a lot. And on defense, the other side of the ball, Shane Simonson's a 3-year starter at middle linebacker. We get him back for his senior year, along with Yaron Moore up front. Yaron is 300 pounds. He's a 3-year starter. Real tough to handle inside. Garrett Blasey, I mentioned before, another sophomore kid last year who got reps, and now he's a junior and he's playing a lot more. Logan Gribben is another big body. So we're shuffling kids into the rotation, and hopefully they're going to get better and better each week.
Do you see, is this more of a senior-led group, or do you have a lot of younger guys, like the sophomores and the juniors, that are you're looking towards kind of building on?
Yeah, I would have to call this class a junior-led, this team a junior-led class, is because last year 7 sophomores got a lot of playing time. The junior class is significant, and the seniors are, they're still there. But I'd have to say juniors it's their show. So that's good. You get an extra year out of that.
That's another way to look towards the future as well. The guys that you can continue to get better this year could be better even for next year as
Absolutely.
well.
Absolutely.
What are some of the things you've been telling these kids since the end of last season, and through the off season, now into training camp, and then of course heading into the regular season, about what it is you want them to improve on, and some things that could help move this team kind of towards the winning direction?
First thing was, starting in November, we started getting stronger. We knew we were going to switch our offense to a little more of a 3-yard cloud of dust kind of offense. We knew we had to be big and strong up front. Also with a 4-man front on defense, we knew that we would have to get big and strong. So that was the first thing. The kids really did a great job. We got stronger across the board. Even kids who played multiple sports were still able to get in there and get their work done. So that was number one. Beyond that, I think if you look around the Shore Conference, probably the state or the country even for that matter, football numbers are down. And we're certainly no different. Our school population has dropped a bit, and now it's filtered down to the football team. So I've told the kids, this is it. I mean, if we look around, you could see, we're about 40 varsity players, and it's going to be a matter of being in phenomenal shape, because you're going to probably play a lot of guys playing 2 ways. So that's been kind of what I'm preaching, sticking it out, and being there for each other, because the group's gotten smaller. I have no complaints. I think I have great kids, so it helps. It helps when you have kids that are all in it for each other.
With the size of that roster, how do you make sure the players are well conditioned without them feeling like they're overworked or fatigued, or that they're running too much, or that they're healthy and ready to go Friday nights?
Yeah. Well, they restricted conditioning even more. It was a tragic thing that happened to the kid who graduated from Neptune High School last year, and I think I filtered down to the high schools, and now they told us even less and less. More rest, more water. So it's kind of a tough situation. We're trying to condition them more, and we're trying to get them in shape because the numbers are down, and at the same time, we have to be careful of their safety. We have to make sure that nothing like that ever happens here or anywhere else for that matter. So it is a tricky road to navigate, but we're doing okay. We had a quad scrimmage the other day. It was 93 degrees. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was rough. It was an eye opener for these guys. So they all realized that we have to step it up. I mean, we were fatigued, to say the least.
Now, in a new division with all the realignments, teams moving here and there, I mean, you're going to play a couple of the similar teams, but into your schedule comes teams like Madawan and Modern Day Prep. Does your approach to game planning each week change with playing some new teams, or is it just the Jackson Liberty motto, or just kind of going about things the way you have?
Yeah, I mean, as far as preparation, we're playing teams we're not familiar with, so that's a little tougher. I mean, coaches we all know each other, and you get to know the guys, and you're Beast South guys. We know each other better, and
yeah.
So when you're about to play or the season's about to start, you guys talk to each other and you figure out who's who. Now we're talking about teams that we're not familiar with. So yeah, the preparation's a little different. We try to reach out to some different people. There's 4 teams that we've never played before coming up. 3 teams that we've never played before in the history of the school. So it's going to take a little bit of a learning curve to figure out who's who. And Modern Day Prep, we know. We had an opportunity to game scrimmage them a couple of years ago. We saw how good they are, and so that's going to be a serious challenge to be able to show up and play with a team that's that talented.
What would you say the X factor is for this team to be successful this season, or if there is an individual player who's an X factor, a group of players that can make this team, a good team on the field?
I think toughness is something that we preach. Jeff, and now Jeff's brother Matt is here. He's coaching the O-line for us. I don't know too many guys tougher than those 2 guys. That's what we're preaching as far as that's what's going to get us through. When we stop worrying about little ourselves and little nicks and bruises and just toughen up in general. And that's what we're trying to pound into these guys. I think it's gonna carry us through. That would be the one thing that I would like to see change and just become a tougher group of kids.
What is your vision for this team this year, and how far can you think this team go? I mean, what is your expectations for Jackson Liberty this season, and as to how good of a team this could be?
I look around and see what we have, and I think we fell into a pretty competitive division, and I think we could be successful in our division. Like you said before, we're familiar with a couple of the teams: Pinelands, Bornicket, Manchester. Later on, they're at a division game, and I mentioned Modern Day Prep is going to be a real challenge. The other teams, from what we've seen already on film, we could be successful. We can compete with those teams, and I like our chances in our division, and being able to qualify for the playoffs. I really do.
Who would you say is an impact newcomer to the scene? Some guy who maybe got a taste of the varsity level last year, and you expect to be a very big presence playing Friday nights this year.
I'd like to say I'd like it to be Andrew Galloway, who's worked hard. He gave up another sport after his junior year. He gave up lacrosse. He's got he's 6'2". He's 220 pounds. He's one of our stronger kids, and he's been waiting and working. And I'd like it to be him. He's been banged up with a groin. It's a little tight. And I think that's been holding him back a little bit. I think he's a little frustrated by that, and I think he's going to wind up being that kid that we didn't have, stepping in and making a difference for us.
Coach, thanks for the time. Good luck
Anytime.
this season.
All right. Thank you, Vin.